Presentation was entitled Because We Live Here. I'm a rhetorician and a literacy scholar, which means that I study both what Aristotle defined as the art of persuasion and the text use, creation, and circulation that serves as that art's delivery system. Jim, my colleague and a regular collaborator, now is a retired director of the Special Collections, and he's also a trained historian, as we spoke last week, the co-author of the book that we read last week. Together, we found in the Norris community and surrounding area an incredibly generative research site for my students in literacy studies and rhetoric, for the library, for many places. Our title invokes Eli Goldblatt's recent study, Because We Live Here, in which this activist and literacy scholar urges teachers and researchers to get beyond the classroom, laboratories, and libraries into the world and increasingly onto the local scene. For Goldblatt, a professor at Temple, the local scene is a series of neighborhoods in Philadelphia. For us, it has meant attending to the translocal through the Norris community. Our subtitle, Because We Live Here, Why the Local Matters to Historians, Archivists, and Rhetoricians. Existing within the Commerce City limits since the 1890s, the Norris community was home to the majority of the vast majority of Commerce's African American population for much of the 20th century. Similar communities existed throughout the segregated South until Jim Crow laws and customs gave way to integration in the last half of the 20th century. The current presentation describes the local the current presentation describes this local context from three perspectives. The first is a rhetorician, me, studying text use and production among members of one activist group organizing for a local change in the decade following state-mandated integration. That's the Norris Community Club that was established in 1975. And then Jim, a university archivist collecting and preserving local African American history. And then, of course, from my perspective as a faculty member leading a research center, the Converging Literacy Center, and exploring emerging technologies and providing opportunities for graduate student involvement in these and other research and community outreach projects. To attend to the translocal requires participants to put local issues in global context, and vice versa, global issues in local context. So we do end up devoting a portion of our presentation to disciplinary implications, especially in terms of research and preservation methods. We actually study the local because we live here, and because this was interesting. Last year, Dean Evans directed our attention to this amazingly rich community. Because Jim Conrad, my colleague here, has led one of the most significant oral history programs in the state, collecting over 1,000 oral histories in his 37 years as director of our university archives. Because trends in my own field quite obviously represent what Paula Mathey has called the public turn, and work like this is likely to find its way into print. Because our students need to know something about the town in which they live, work, or attend classes. Because what's here locally has significant implications for the big questions that are being asked in our disciplines. And this right here, what that you're looking at, is a 6-minute introduction to African American history in Northeast Texas, drawn together by one of the folks working in our library archives. These are digital images that exist in our digital collections, many of which you've seen. So, the Norris community, here it is. It is on the other side of the tracks. Let's see if we can get close enough to see. Okay, this is the dividing line, the railroad track, and here's 11. And if you go over past the libraries over here, the post office, if you pass through there, if you've been in Commerce, it's just on the other side of the tracks, on the other side of Division Street, past a cemetery. This right here is a Superfund site that we can talk about, and it's this area right here, just on the other side of town. In the next portion, I'll continue the description by looking at a parallel timeline that's going on.